Welcome to Master Your Emotions, an essential guide to developing emotional independence. In a world that constantly demands our attention and often dictates our reactions, it's easy to feel like our emotions are in the driver's seat, steering us through life's ups and downs without our conscious consent. This audiobook is for anyone who has ever felt overwhelmed by their feelings, frustrated by their automatic responses, or simply yearned for a greater sense of inner calm and control.
We often live under the illusion that we are in complete control of our lives, yet our emotional responses frequently prove otherwise. A sudden comment, an unexpected setback, or even a minor inconvenience can trigger a cascade of feelings, anger, anxiety, sadness, that seem to take over, influencing our decisions and shaping our interactions. These unseen chains of emotion can hold us captive, preventing us from responding thoughtfully and aligning our actions with our true intentions.
But what if there was another way? What if you could understand these emotional triggers, manage your reactivity, and consciously choose your responses rather than being swept away by impulse? This is the promise of emotional independence, the ability to navigate life's challenges with grace, resilience, and a profound sense of inner freedom. It's not about suppressing your emotions or becoming emotionless. It's about mastering them so they serve you rather than control you. Welcome to Chapter 1, The Beautiful Lie of Perfectionism. We've been sold a story that perfectionism equals high standards, that it's the mark of excellence, that it separates the amateurs from the professionals. But this narrative is a beautiful lie. Perfectionism isn't about high standards at all. It's about fear wearing a mask of quality. It's about hiding behind endless revisions because the alternative, finishing and facing judgment, feels too threatening. Today, we unmask this lie for what it truly is, not a virtue, but a sophisticated form of self-sabotage. Excellence and perfectionism are not the same. Excellence is about striving for quality within constraints. It's about doing your best with available resources, iterating, and improving over time. Perfectionism, by contrast, is a refusal to accept anything less than an impossible ideal. Excellence says, this is good enough to ship and I'll make it better next time. Perfectionism says, this isn't perfect yet, so no one can see it. Excellence is forward-moving. Perfectionism is static. Excellence embraces the iterative nature of growth. Perfectionism demands immediate flawlessness. Which path serves your work better? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Perfectionism protects your ego by preventing real testing. As long as your work remains unfinished, it remains perfect in theory. It can't be criticized, rejected, or proven inadequate because it hasn't faced reality yet. Unfinished work lives in the realm of potential, where it can remain brilliant forever. But finished work enters the world of actual, where it will inevitably have flaws. Perfectionism keeps you safe from this vulnerability. It allows you to say, I could have been great, rather than risking the possibility that you might not be. It's a sophisticated defense mechanism that costs you everything. The most devastating cost of perfectionism isn't the time wasted on revisions, it's the identity erosion that happens in the process. Each time you choose perfection over progress, you reinforce a belief that your worth is tied to flawlessness. Each unfinished project becomes evidence that you're someone who can't complete things. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy where you start to identify as a perfectionist rather than a finisher. The hidden cost is the slow death of your confidence, the erosion of your self-trust, and the shrinking of what you believe you're capable of. This is the real tragedy of the perfectionism trap. Welcome to Chapter 2, Why We Never Finish. Understanding the psychology of non-completion is crucial to breaking the cycle. At its core, our failure to finish isn't about lack of discipline or poor time management. It's about a sophisticated avoidance strategy. We've created elaborate justifications for why our work remains incomplete. But beneath these rationalizations lies a simple truth. Unfinished equals untested,
and untested equals safe from judgment. Let's explore the psychological mechanisms that keep us stuck in the perpetual state of almost done. The equation is simple. Unfinished work cannot be properly judged. It exists in a protected state where criticism feels premature. It's not finished yet becomes your shield against feedback that might wound your ego. This safety comes at a tremendous cost, the cost of impact, growth, and contribution. As long as your work remains in development, you maintain plausible deniability about its quality. You can continue to believe in its potential brilliance without ever risking the reality of its reception. This is the perfectionist's paradox, seeking safety in incompletion while claiming to strive for excellence. Perfectionism creates a dangerous split between your potential self and your proven self. Your potential self is brilliant, capable, and successful, all in theory. This self exists in the future, once everything is perfect. Your proven self, however, has a track record of starting but not finishing, of promising but not delivering. Each unfinished project widens this gap, making it harder to bridge. The longer you wait to ship, the more pressure you place on that future potential self to be extraordinary. But here's the truth. You become proven through doing, not through perfect planning. Your proven self is built through finished work, even imperfect work. We talk about fear of failure, but what about fear of success? Finishing and shipping successful work creates new expectations. It raises the bar for your next project. Success means you can no longer hide behind, "I'm still figuring things out." It brings visibility, which brings scrutiny. Perfectionism, in this context, becomes a form of self-handicapping, ensuring you never quite reach the level where success would demand more of you. This fear operates unconsciously, masquerading as high standards while actually protecting you from the responsibilities that come with achievement. The revision loop is where perfectionism thrives. Each tweak, adjustment, and refinement feels productive, but often serves as avoidance behavior rather than meaningful improvement. There comes a point where additional changes yield diminishing returns, where you're polishing rather than progressing. This loop is seductive because it feels like work, feels like commitment to quality, but it's actually commitment to safety. It keeps you busy without requiring you to face the vulnerability of shipping. Recognizing when you're in the revision loop versus when you're making substantive improvements is a critical skill for any creator. Welcome to Chapter 3, The Shipping Mindset. If perfectionism is the disease, shipping is the cure. The shipping mindset fundamentally reframes completion as the goal, not the byproduct of achieving perfection. It's about embracing the reality that great work isn't born perfect. It becomes great through the process of being released into the world and iterated upon. In this chapter, we'll explore how to shift from a perfectionist mindset to a shipping mindset, and why this shift is transformative for your work and your growth. In the shipping mindset, done isn't just a state, it's a feature of your work. Completeness adds value that perfection cannot provide. Done work can help people, generate revenue, spark conversations, and create opportunities. Perfect but unfinished work does none of these things. When you embrace done as a feature, you recognize that completion itself enhances your work's value. The ability to ship becomes part of your skill set, as important as your technical or creative abilities. This reframes finishing not as an end to quality, but as an essential component of it. You cannot get meaningful feedback on unfinished work. Genuine insights come from people experiencing your creation in its completed form. Drafts and prototypes can only yield theoretical feedback. The shipping mindset understands that feedback is not judgment, it's data. It's the most valuable resource for improvement, and it's only available to those who ship. Perfectionism seeks to avoid criticism, but the shipping mindset seeks feedback as the fastest path to genuine improvement. Which approach actually leads to better work in the long run? The single most powerful truth in creative and productive work: iteration beats perfection.
Version 1.0, released with flaws, will always outperform version 0.0, perfect in theory but non-existent in reality. Shipping creates a feedback loop that perfectionism can never replicate. Release, learn, improve, repeat. Each cycle compounds your knowledge and refines your work. While perfectionists chase an ideal that never materializes, shippers build through real-world application. The tortoise of consistent iteration always beats the hare of perfectionist paralysis. Shipping creates compound growth that perfectionism prevents. Each completed project builds your body of work, expands your audience, develops your skills, and strengthens your confidence. These gains compound over time, creating momentum that makes each subsequent project easier to start and finish. Perfectionism, by contrast, creates compound losses, missed opportunities, stalled growth, and eroded confidence. The choice between shipping and perfecting isn't about individual projects, it's about which compound effect you want in your life and career. Shipping builds exponentially, perfecting stagnates linearly at best. Welcome to Chapter 4, Practical Strategies to Finish. Understanding the psychology of perfectionism is valuable, but now we need actionable techniques to break free. These strategies are designed to interrupt the perfectionism pattern and create new pathways toward completion. They're not theoretical, they're practical tools you can implement immediately to start shipping your work. Remember, knowledge without application is just another form of procrastination. The single most effective strategy: set a ship date before you begin. Not a target date, not a hopeful date, a non-negotiable ship date. This creates a constraint that forces decisions and prevents the endless revision cycle. When you know the deadline is absolute, you prioritize differently. You focus on what matters rather than what would be nice to add. You make trade-offs consciously rather than letting scope creep silently expand. Public commitments are especially powerful. Tell people when you'll ship. Accountability becomes your ally against perfectionism. Define what good enough means before you start working. What's the minimum level of quality required for this work to achieve its purpose? What are the essential features versus nice-to-have additions? Write these criteria down and refer to them when you feel the pull to keep polishing. The good enough threshold isn't about mediocrity. It's about sufficiency for the intended purpose. It's a conscious decision about where to invest your limited time and energy. Most successful creators have an intuitive sense of this threshold. Perfectionists refuse to acknowledge it exists. Adopt the concept of minimum viable completion, MVC, from the startup world. What's the absolute minimum you need to ship to test your core hypothesis or deliver value? This isn't about cutting corners, it's about strategic focus. MVC forces you to identify what truly matters versus what feels important but isn't essential. Ship the MVC first, then iterate based on real feedback rather than imagined requirements. This approach dramatically reduces the risk of building something perfect that nobody actually wants or needs. Make your shipping intentions public. Announce your ship date. Share progress updates. Create external accountability. This works because perfectionism thrives in private, where standards can be endlessly adjusted without consequence. Public commitment creates social pressure that counteracts the desire to keep polishing. It forces you to prioritize shipping over perfecting because others are watching and waiting. This isn't about shame, it's about leveraging human psychology to support your goals rather than undermine them. Creation and editing. When you're creating, turn off your inner critic. Generate ideas, produce content, make progress without judgment. Then, schedule specific editing sessions where you switch to critical mode. Many perfectionists try to do both simultaneously, which leads to paralysis. The creative mind and the critical mind use different neural pathways. Trying to engage both at once is like trying to accelerate and brake simultaneously. Separate these modes, and you'll find both creation and editing become more effective and less painful. Exercise. Choose one stalled project right now. Identify one project you've been perfecting but not finishing. Just one. 1. Write down what this project is. 2. Estimate how long you've been working on it. 3. Calculate how much additional time you've spent polishing rather than progressing. 4. Consider what could have been created with that time. This exercise isn't about shame, it's about awareness. Seeing the cost of perfectionism in concrete terms creates motivation to change. Choose this project as your test case for implementing the strategies in this chapter. Exercise. Define done in concrete terms. For your chosen stalled project, write down exactly what done means. 1. List the essential features or components that must be included. 2. Specify the quality standards that must be met, not could be met. 3. Identify what explicitly will not be included in this version. 4. Create a checklist that, when completed, means the project is shippable. Be ruthlessly honest about what's essential versus what would be nice. This definition becomes your North Star when perfectionism tries to pull you off course. Exercise. Set a non-negotiable ship date. Based on your definition of done, set a ship date that feels uncomfortably soon. 1. Choose a specific date and time. 2. Announce it to at least 3 people. 3. Schedule what you need to do between now and then. 4. Remove all other options from your calendar on ship day. This date is now real. It's not flexible. Work backward from this deadline to create your action plan. The discomfort you feel is a sign that you're challenging the perfectionism pattern. That's exactly what we want. Welcome to Chapter 5, Living as a Finisher. Breaking the perfectionism habit isn't just about completing one project. It's about transforming your identity. You need to shift from seeing yourself as someone who struggles with perfectionism to someone who ships work consistently. This identity change is the foundation for lasting change. In this final chapter, we'll explore how to build the finisher identity and maintain it for the long term. Identity change follows behavior change, but it also reinforces it. Start referring to yourself as a finisher, not a perfectionist. I'm someone who ships work versus I'm someone who struggles with perfectionism. This isn't just semantic. It's programming your brain to look for evidence of your new identity. Each completed project becomes proof that you're a finisher. Each shipped work strengthens this identity. Over time, your self-perception aligns with your actions, creating a positive feedback loop that makes shipping easier and more natural. Shipping like a muscle that strengthens with practice. Start small with low-stakes projects to build your shipping confidence. Ship something imperfect this week, then next week, then the week after. Each successful shipment, no matter how small, strengthens your shipping muscle and weakens perfectionism's grip. Focus on consistency over scale initially. The goal is to create a pattern of finishing that becomes automatic. Like any muscle building, there will be discomfort initially, but with consistent practice, shipping becomes easier and eventually natural. Shipping creates vulnerability, and you need strategies to handle the discomfort that follows. Remember, criticism of your work is not criticism of you. Prepare mentally for feedback, both positive and negative. Have a plan for how you'll process responses. Many perfectionists avoid shipping to avoid this vulnerability, but finishers learn to sit with discomfort and process it constructively. The vulnerability you feel after shipping is evidence that you cared enough to create something meaningful. Honor that feeling rather than run from it. Create rituals to celebrate finishing, regardless of how perfect the work feels. Mark the moment of shipping in a meaningful way. This trains your brain to associate completion with reward, counteracting the perfectionist tendency to focus only on flaws. Celebrate the act of shipping itself, the courage, the discipline, the vulnerability. When you celebrate completion, you reinforce the finisher identity, and create positive associations that make future shipping easier. Quality matters, but without completion, quality is irrelevant. Ship something imperfect this week, not next month, this week. Feel the fear and ship it anyway. Choose something smaller if you need to, but choose something. The perfectionism will whisper that you need more time, that it's not ready, that people will judge you. Recognize this voice for what it is, fear disguised as quality control. Then ship anyway. This single act will break more patterns than weeks of analysis. It will create momentum that carries you forward. Ship imperfect work, not because you don't care about quality, but because you care more about impact.